Good morning and welcome to a live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering finance on this your Tuesday. And I'm looking at the topic helping the worthy poor and those seeking gainful employment. So helping the worthy poor and those who seeking gainful employment. So welcome again. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you for your word. And this day I pray, the Lord, you may bless us as I share these thoughts and those listening. And may you be a guide in all things that we do for the best interest of ourselves and others. May you bless us, we pray, for Christ's sake. Amen. So thanks for joining me here as I look at this topic, helping the worthy poor and those seeking gainful employment. And so as I communicated, I'm covering this theme for this week, which is one of the biggest blessings I receive from the health message and trying to help others to heal and increase health. I was the primary recipient of all this health and healing effort. So you're doing something and you're doing it for yourself, and then you learn something and you start to share with others. But as I share, and the more I share, the more, somebody will call me and say, hey, listen, I have this problem or that problem. I do the research on it. Sometimes I realize, oh, I'm in need of that herb or I'm in need of that supplement. And so after a while, it became very important for me to see the value of these things, and it became a bigger blessing to me. So when I run into a health problem, I had a solution for my health problem, or I knew how to go find a solution for my health problem. And normally we're talking about this natural health. So we normally understand that the health message is the gospel in practice. So when we understand the health message, we're really understanding how the gospel works in practical terms. And so the gospel works similar. We learn, we meditate, we study, we share, and as we share, we become the bigger recipient. We grow more. And so I've looked at it that says it's important in life for us. To me, one of the main things you learn from the gospel is that we're putting ourselves in other people's shoes, and we see ourselves in their shoes because we are like afflicted with same afflictions. We are struggling with the same thing. But when we don't see that others are in the same boat with us, then we sometimes often don't get the same help we need. So that brings me to this point now that we identify with the least of these. And normally I should say but I want to assume that you're in the same situation, that you I identify with the least of these. We support the least of these, and we are the least of these. Plymouth Rock did fall on us. We didn't fall on Plymouth Rock or land on it. And so we identify with those who are oppressed and so forth. So because the health had taught me that says, I'm in the same boat with those who I'm trying to help. And when I help them, I'm helping myself. So it's the same thing I realized, wait a minute, I'm in the same boat with those who are oppressed. And when I help them, I'm helping myself. I'm standing up for myself. So it's the same thing. You just realize, we are human beings and we are subject to disease and sickness. And we are human beings and we're subject to be deceived and to be oppressed and deceived. So we're all in the same boat. So that's the far-flung concept I'm going to do. So I'm going to wind it in a little bit more for you here. Use this text that you lesson yesterday, and we go back again to Isaiah 58, verse 6 through 8. Notice it says, is not this the fast that I've chosen? Is not this the fast that I've chosen, to loose the band of wickedness and to undo the heavy burden and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke? So this is important because the oppressed, normally when the situation turns from them, they become the oppressor. But here Israel was being spoken to by Isaiah. The Lord is speaking through Isaiah. The Lord is telling Israel that says, you need to let the oppressed go free. But how often you see the Jews got themselves into oppressive situation. But notice the consistent history to today of the Jewish people is that they never see themselves as in the oppressed situation. Why? Because every time they get a little power, they use it to oppress others. And so when it comes back heavy against them. Because whatsoever you sow, that shall you also reap. And this is why they rejected Christ, because Christ was telling them that you need to let the oppressed go free. So I realize it's just better to go through life and just saying, I'm oppressed. And I side with I sit there and side with those who are oppressed. I'm on their part. so that I never get into a mindset thinking that say, oh, look at me. I'm good, so I can join with the oppressors and the bullies and stuff like that. So we don't join that. We don't pile on, somebody being beaten and we jump in and get our licks in also. We are peacemakers. So this is important because, again, notice here, you need to let the oppressed go free. What you're doing, you're creating an environment so that oppression is not a normal thing. But often what happens, people think, oh, they're in the superior position and they start to oppress everybody, not knowing that their day is coming. And they always come because that environment will lead to oppression. One of the things that really blessed me when I was in my teenage years, reading this book called Great Controversy by Ellen G. White, and what she showed and she delineated that over and over again when people were oppressed, then oppression break out even for the people that were doing the oppression. If you read about the French Revolution, who started getting their head chopped off? It was the priests, the nuns, by the tens of thousands, and it was the bourgeoisie. But I'm sure probably a day before things start breaking out, they were whipping everybody else's buttocks, and then it came to them. And that's really what the French Revolution teaches. Then we learn again about the Jewish people, that when they rejected Christ and they killed Christ, then they start turning on each other. And she shows, and history shows it also, that they start killing each other. If you ever have time and you want to really bless yourself and not get so, what they call it, brainwashed by Western media, go read Times of Israel or go read any of the Jewish paper and you'll see what's going on internally, that they're on the cusp of, they start talking about coup d'etat amongst themselves. Because you're thinking that they're oppressing the poor and the weak, and they're using America to back them to press. But you thinking they're not oppressing each other. An oppressor is just an oppressor. It's just a cloak and dagger to hide his wicked ways. So I'd learned real quickly from a young age that no, they turn on each other and eat each other. So you think now those who are in power, this statement come to them and they'll be like, nah, that's not going to happen to me. It always happened to them. You look about the richest people on the face of the planet and you see their kids become their oppressor. And the Bible tells you that in Isaiah, that the kids are your oppressor, your women are your oppressors. And you see that, they'll kill them and get the insurance money, or just they die and peg out and they just throw their carcass on the side of the street and then live large and live coke life on their money. This happening all the time. And you can see this every day. It's in the news. Kids just basically pillage their parents and take the money. But you think, those same parents, they will gladly oppress me, because notice I'm talking as one of those who oppression fell on. And I accept it. This is just the reality of life. But if you're dealing in this life, you might think, oh no, that can't happen to me. But watch, you see the news all the time. Kids can wipe them out. But they're the ones that will never side with those that are oppressed. But they don't think that it can come their way. But it come their way all the time. Notice here, is it not to deal that bread to the hungry? Well, who you dealing bread to? If you deal bread to the hungry, you're dealing bread to Jesus. And that you bring the poor that I cast out into out of thy and that thou bring the poor that are cast out to thy house, and thou seest the naked, and that thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. When you see the person naked, you see the person poor, you see the person cast out, the person is a refugee, the person is running from starvation. We are supposed to see ourselves as that's us, but this is literally us. This is literally me. As I say, I don't know, you probably listen to me, that's not your situation. But I know if you're listening to me, you're in the United States of America. Nobody in the United States of America didn't come here fleeing from something. You see that you're coming fleeing from King Charles, or you're fleeing from Hitler, or you're fleeing from somebody in the Muslim world that was trying to kill you, or you're fleeing from Africa from starvation, you're fleeing from South America. Nobody came here. Somebody say, oh, I didn't, I was born here. Sure. Sure. But, unless you're a Native American, everybody fled from something. But there's people who pompous, and an air of pomposity. And they say, oh, no, that's not me. See, but I see myself as somebody that was fleeing from something. And I came here. Somebody that my grandparents were being whipped and raped and all kind of stuff like that. And I'm here. So for me now, I can go and say, oh, I'm on the side of the oppressor. No, I'm on the side of those who are oppressed because I'm an oppressed people, and that's just my fact. I can't really hide that, and there's no pretty way to tell you that. This is my reality. Notice here, then shall thy light break forth as the morning, because you see yourself in that person, and you say, "That's me. I'm that person." So when I'm dealing with somebody with health, somebody say, "Okay, you deal with health. You seem straightforwardly healthy," but I'm the person who I deal with all the afflictions. So when a person feel pain, if a person I'm in pain, Lloyd, I understand. I literally understand. I felt a lot of pain in my life. So I'm on the side of those, and I'm supporting those who are in pain. If somebody tell me, Lloyd, I was deceived by somebody, well, I understand because I've been deceived. I've been lied on and, all that type of stuff and chewed out and spit out and all that. So I'm on their side. But for me to not be able to free myself and say, Lord, listen, that's your story. You can't be on the side of those who are oppressing people. It's just, I've come to accept that. That's just my side. So then shall thy light break forth as the morning. Because now I see life the way it is. I see people for who they are. I see this life for what it is. I see the Bible as being true. It tells the true story of life. And one of that big stories, what goes around comes around. And it don't matter how powerful you are. So notice there, and thy health shall spring forth speedily. Because you start saying, listen, we need to look out for those who are in pain. But the people who are not in pain, they don't see no value in looking out for somebody in pain. But when you're in pain, man, you will do whatever you can to stop the pain. But a person who never feels pain, they don't no, don't give them no help. It's like they don't understand, but I feel pain. So I know, listen, whatever it takes, give the person a pain. That's what I believe in. What they call it? Is it palliative care or something? Like when person is so chronically sick that they just give them painkillers and stuff like that. So I believe in that. Because why? Because I feel pain, so I know what it's like. It's very depressing and just very painful. I don't know how else to describe that. And thy righteousness shall go before thee, and the glory of the Lord shall be their reward. So when you see Jesus Christ upon the cross and he's suffering pain, what you do, you too get to a point where you start to understand what pain is, and you side with Jesus. But a person who don't feel pain, they're like, they don't care. But we're not those people. Luke 4, verse 17 through 19. And there was delivered unto him the book of Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place. So he's going for something here. Where it was written, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. Remember, John the Baptist didn't even baptize the religious leaders. And today, if you ask yourself the question, the leaders of the church, would you baptize them? But Christ come and say, I'm here to preach the gospel to the poor. Because the rich, they're going to kill me anyhow. The leaders of the system going to kill me anyhow. So we side with Jesus. He had sent me to heal the brokenhearted. Those people who are not sick, they don't need a physician. Those people are not brokenhearted, they don't need a healing because they're good. So when you're good, you're good. You're good as dead. Notice here, to preach deliverance to the captive. So who we preaching deliverance to? The captive. We want the captive to be set free. Number one, free from sin, and number one, free from any oppressive thing, whether it be disease, whether it be close to death, whether it be drugs. Whatever people are hooked up on and they're holding them captive, we want them to be free from that, because man should be free from all drugs, free from all captivity. We want the prisoners to go free that are in prison innocently. He had sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, the recovering of sight to the blind. Because if you can't see, we want you to see. That's why I'm here talking. Do you see? Do you see what I see? To set at liberty them that are bruised. Are you bruised? You've been banged up, but nobody can see that you have cuts, because you have no cuts. You just have internal wounds. And if you're bruised, Jesus said, I'm here for you. So I'm here for you also, because I've been bruised and I've been banged up. So I know what it feels like. So I recognize with those that are being banged up. To preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And so we believe in the second coming, and we believe that the seventh last plague will be issued against those who banging up people. So we preach that. Now notice in Ecclesiastes 4 verse 1 states this very interesting thing here. Ecclesiastes 4 verse 1. So this is the wise man speaking. And what does he say here to us? The wise man says to us here that, so I return and consider all the oppression that are done under the sun. So, the sun is up there and we down here. And he's saying, what's going on the earth? And behold, the tears of such as were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And on the side of their oppressors was their power, but they had no comforter. Now, you know the story of Solomon. He wrote this. Many of what he wrote was when he was not fully in the thrust of wickedness, and some of what he wrote is when he was in the thrust of wickedness. Because of his lifestyle of 1,000 wives and gold was nothing, he became an oppressor. Very fascinating. The man that wrote this himself became an oppressor. So we have to be careful in our personal lives that we are not on the side of those who are oppressing others, those who power is on their side. So you have to ask yourself the question, who the power is on their side, and who them people oppressing people. And then why is it that most people are supporting the oppressors? The majority will support oppressors. And when you answer that, then you're in a good place. And then you ask yourself the question, are you lusting after a lifestyle that will cause people to be oppressed? As they say, people do things based upon their pocketbooks. So these are the questions that you have to ask yourself. This question: when you see somebody suffering, do you always quick to go on the side of those that are the oppressor and speak out against those who are oppressed? And we see this going on in the society. And this is a question where I had to come to my mind and say, listen, I'm here to help the world, the poor. I mean, not everybody's poor, need to be helped, because there's some people there, they can be gainfully employed and they can take care of themselves. They're not disabled. So to me, the word the poor is the fatherless, the widow, the stranger, and those that are disabled. Everybody else, if you came gainfully employed, you're not really poor. You need a drug rehab or something to get you on your feet. So they can be helped also because they're oppressed. They're captive. So when you start looking at life that way, your eyes start to open up. I'm going to read the text again for you when you think about this. Where do you come in? Because Solomon in his right mind, he came in right. But then because of his lifestyle to support 1,000 crazy women, he had to start oppressing people and tax people because somebody got to pay for those women. Anything with vanity is very expensive. So I read it again for you. So I returned and I consider all the oppressions that are done under the sun. So he's thinking about all the way people have been oppressed. And if you start to think about this, your mind will open up to what really is going on. And behold, the tears of such as were oppressed. Because you start thinking, these people are crying. And they had no comforter. So this is why I say I recognize with those who are sick. I recognize with those who are oppressed. Because I too cried, so to speak. And who comfort you? They'll mock you. Are you wounded? And that's been asked me before. People are nuts. And I'm looking at them and say, I'm wounded. I probably have some emotions, but not wounded. I can get emotional and start even crying. So not necessarily I'm wounded. As I say, I can relate to somebody who's been raped and say, I feel it for them and even cry for that. I mean, I was not raped, but I can understand their pain. Does that make sense? But if I show emotion for somebody that was raped or somebody that was wrongfully locked in prison and the person is being interviewed and they cry and I shed some tears for them, somebody will say, are you wounded? And I'm like, no, I'm not wounded. I didn't go to prison. I'm just recognizing with that person because I felt pain. I felt rejection. So I know how it feels. I felt betrayal. So I know it feels, but doesn't mean say I was in that situation. I just understand what pain is. Does that make sense? But people misconstrue and think, what? I don't know what they're thinking. Not so, because then I normally look at them and say, oh, you're messing about, you're going to feel pain. And who's going to be there for you? In other words, we are there for those because we hope that says when we're in a trouble, somebody will comfort us. Amen. Somebody will be there for us. So if you hear me here, yes, I side with the immigrants, the illegal immigrants, the people coming over the border, because I know I worked with them. I know they're not here to invade, because only 7 kingdoms on the planet are colonizers. That's the history. Somebody could say, oh, Lord, but you never know. Sure, I never know. Absolutely. But there's no history of that. We've been on the planet for sin for 6,000 years, and there's 7 kingdoms in Western Europe that does slavery and colonization. And they're the ones telling us that the people coming over is an invasion, while the people are poor. These are people who are the end result and product of colonization and the evils that come out of the United Nations and their laws, and Congress and their laws. And yet these are people who their governments have been constantly attacked and overthrown by the American juggernaut, what they call him, the CIA. And yet these people need a job. So if somebody want to be gainfully employed, I support them. I don't see people as stealing, but notice, if you're here inside the United States, you cannot support those who you know. And every white person I've ever worked with knew these people are coming here to work. But yet in public, they'll say, oh, these people are coming here to steal. And because we side with the oppressors, because they have the power, we keep quiet. So I had to deal with myself with this and say, but you're one of them. You are a foreigner. We're a stranger. I'm a guest here. I didn't come here to steal nobody's nothing. I came here because I'm an end product of slavery and colonization. And so you'd go where you need to go to get a job. But the people you come into are lying and saying you're here to rape white women. I'm like, to rape? I know there's rapists that are black, but I'm here to rape white. Like, I don't get that. Where does that come from? And, you know, you're here because you love watermelon and, you know, all this type of craziness. And instead of people that are speaking, stop telling lies. You're just lying. You know who the rape is. You know why our skins are light. You know why you know, I think the number one, every time we hear about Mexicans or rapists, is the Jefferson family. Thomas Jefferson family should come out and say, no, stop that. You know who was sleeping with slaves. Stop it. But you see people quiet because it's not them being falsely accused, but we're Christians. I know we risk being killed by evildoers in the power because we speak out. But stop telling lies. You know these people, there's rapists in every group of people. But to say Mexicans are, you see, so when the Mexicans were being accused of rape, all the other immigrant people, most immigrant people, quiet. But you know me here, I lost listeners, as I said, because I said, that's not right. And this was years ago. I said, that's not right. That's not true. I work with Mexicans. I'm guaranteed in every country there's rapists. But to say that that group of people are rapists is not right. But you see, the Haitians and all these people should have stand up and said, listen, if it's them, it's going to be me next. But they keep quiet. You see, and that's the problem. We keep quiet because we don't recognize. I said, they're talking about me. Because remember, every white American should have said, stop that. Because you know how you used to accuse black guys of raping black women and kill them by the heaps and hang them on trees. But the aim was, they were raping white women. But instead of having a proper conversation, we keep quiet. Because we know the people who are saying this, they're very much dangerous. Because that's the history of their legacy. So people are kind of afraid. But we're not having a proper discussion. Stop saying that stuff. You know it's not true. Yes, there's black guys that are rapists. Yes, there's black guys that are thief and stuff like that. But to say all black men are rapists and they just have this lust to go rape white women and not have that discussion, it is not right. So that's why when I heard it, I was like, huh? Mexican? I worked with Mexicans. As I remember, I used to work with some Mexicans, and I work at different factories when I was younger. Warehouses, I think I should say. Warehouses and factories, but warehouses. I remember in front of me, the white managers, all white managers, would go to the Mexicans, go to the Ecuadorians, and say, don't you have nobody back at home that looking for a job? Well, how are they going to work? They knew they were illegal. You have nobody to work? We need workers. I saw that for myself. But yet the same people will say, oh no, they're invading us. Wink, wink. Like everybody's a fool. This is hypocrisy. This is two-faced hypocrisy. They know that you can't get in the farms, in the factories, in the stuff. You know, you have a farm, and you need the cows and the milk. Who's going to clean the poop out of those cow pens that these cat, what do you call it? The cow, whatever you call the cow, that have milk, the female cow. Who's going to keep cleaning all that poop? So you get some Hispanics and whatever to clean the poop. But then those same people say, oh, no, they're stealing our jobs. They're stealing your job? You want to do that job? You need to speak out. And especially as us of Christian, we need to speak out and say, that's a lie. You know it's a lie. They're not stealing nobody's job. But yet, they said we have a history of this. This is the history of the country. That's what makes it more biting. So notice it says here, and behold the tears of such that are oppressed. They had no comforter. When our president says, Donald Trump says that the Haitians are eating cats, the Chinese should have stand up and said, no, don't say that, because we eat cats. And we eat dogs. That's what they say. And that's what they talk about them. But everybody keep quiet because it's not their time. And then people say, oh, I came here legally. Really? I mean, you mean paperwork-wise. But you're not native. And if you come here, why are you going to talk like that? Because you're Asian. And the Indians, some of the worst. Because they'll always side with those that are oppressing. And so you have to see what's happening. And you see how it's happening. You see, oh, I see how this get out of hand. Because people say, oh, what happened in Germany? It's not going to happen again. Really? You believe that? You don't see how it goes? Because you start to say to people, these people are against you and they're doing something to you. Think about it. Look at your mother. She's white, right? And she's so beautiful. All these Mexicans want to rape her. I remember when I was younger, we were living in an apartment and we had a couple, a white lady and a Mexican. I didn't think, he was raping her. I thought they were in a relationship, So to hear this, I'm like, oh, he's having her hostage up there raping her? This is what's going on? But you see, that's not true. That's not true. And I've known white women that will be like seeking after Mexicans. So then I'm saying, so all these white women were seeking those guys for the guys to rape them? And we know this and we don't speak up and say, stop saying that. That's not right. I know this is evil. If you're saying it, these people are demonic. That's it. But they all know it's, nah. If you need to be blessed and your blessing comes from have to demonize people, you're evil. And you have to support people, demonize people. You're evil. You're not thought about it, that you're on the side of the oppressor. You're supporting evil. Notice here, and they had no comforter. And on the side of the oppressors, there was power. Who has the power? Who has the bombs? Who have the gun? Who is keep destroying poor people all over the world and destabilizing their countries and then say, don't come to our country because we have it good over here. But they had no comforter. Notice in Matthew chapter 25, this is why they killed Christ. They killed Christ because Christ simply was on the side of those who are oppressed. So we follow Jesus and we know the plan for us by the Freemasons and the secret societies and the unions and the leaders in the country, that sooner or later they're going to figure out who they need to go after, because ultimately Satan want to go after us. Matthew chapter 25, verse 37 through 40. Notice here, then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee hungered and fed thee, or thirsty and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it to one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it to me. So, the least. Who are the least in the society? who are the most vulnerable, who is it that you can scapegoat for power, right? And people who are German descent should understand this and they should stand up. To me, it's more incumbent on a German to stand up and say, listen, we have done this before. Stop it, my brethren. Right? My brethren. Stop this. We've done this before. When you start hearing accusation, notice the president who represent the people because it's a government by the people or for the people. So when I say the president, just take it, I'm looking at the people. And when the president said, listen, the Mexicans are rapists. The Haitians from Haiti are eating cats and dogs, eating people's pet. Whose pet are they eating? They're eating white people's pet. That's the assumption. I think. No, if I'm wrong, you tell me. And the Mexicans are raping. Who they're raping? Because the Mexicans are raping Mexicans. I don't think they care. It's incumbent on those. It's not going to happen though, because we've been here for a while. But it's incumbent on those who understand how many black guys were still in prison, being accused of rape. Some of them did do rape, I believe, because rapists is everywhere in every country, I believe. But it's incumbent on those who understand how many innocent people died. And I think what the problem is, those that are sitting in that position, they think that says oppression won't happen to them. And I think that's where the trick is. So the trick is like, as somebody said to me, it's not oppression unless I'm oppressed. That's what somebody told me one time. I was being wrongly accused of something, and I say, why don't you speak up? And the person said, well, it's not oppression if I'm not being oppressed. So I learned a very painful lesson at that point. So what I've learned is that the problem is that the person who is cheering on oppression, they don't see any ill coming to them, especially if you live in an environment where people don't believe. People believe they evolve and there's no God. So there's no higher power. The highest power is the Congress and the Senate on the planet at this time. And that's the truth. So in their mind, they don't see that is a possibility that they could suffer. So for them, they're like, that don't come to me. I'm not being accused of being rapist. I wasn't. It was my four parents or my father and grandfather was killing men, black men who were accused of rape. They weren't killing them. So in their mind, oppression, you don't have to speak it against oppression. And I think that's where the machination, and you tell me, you can comment anywhere, you can find me. And tell me, text me, whatever. Tell me, what do you think? Is this what it is? Because that's what I assume. That in their mind, as I say, it's not oppression unless they're oppressed. In other words, you can all day long, ha, 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 and laugh. Oh, look, the Mexicans are rapists. And it doesn't mean nothing. Because what happened? It's not them. But are they being oppressed? Or do they feel pain? Do they suffer? The answer would be no. They don't feel no pain. They don't suffer. They're not oppressed. So they can't understand. But for me, I feel pain. I do suffer pain, so I understand. I've been wrongfully accused. So I understand. And so it means something to me. Because I say, oh, I see how it works. And then people watch you getting hanged to dry, so to speak. So notice here Christ says, Christ was speaking now, my statement here now, for himself. Christ himself, you could say that Christ himself, so right here, it says, Christ himself was hungry. Christ himself was thirsty. Christ himself became a stranger to his own people. He came to his own and his own received him not. He became rejected, oppressed. They didn't take him in. They basically treat him as a foreigner and abuse him. He was naked, basically stripped down, take his robe off him, and then they beat him. And then they mock him. And yet he was innocent. But until we see ourselves in the story of Christ and see that could be me and will be, definitely will be me, by God's grace, I pray to God that I stay faithful, and that will be me, then I do not side with those who are being treated this way. So when I see the naked, I don't go to cover him because I'm good. That's not me. When somebody's hungry, I'm like, I don't care if they're going to bed hungry. So if you right now, there's people going to bed hungry in Cuba. Who's starving them? America. Americans. Because the government by the people, for the people. Whatever the government does, they're doing it in our name. We are starving the Cuban people. And they're silly leaders. But the embargo has gotten tighter on the Biden. So he's turned up the vice grip on them. Trump
turn it up. Obama tried to release it. And then Trump came in and said, nope, put that thing on, vice grip them. And then Biden came in and Biden said, listen, we're going to starve them. Biden made it even harder. These are people who grew up on the Jim Crow. And so you can see the mindset. So I've gone to bed hungry. Well, I go to bed hungry regular. So it's a different story, but that's by choice. But anyhow, so I know what it's like to go to bed so hungry that I just want to go sleep because I don't want to deal with the hunger. And so I go to bed hungry all the time, so I know what it feels like to go hungry. But for me, it's not going. There's food. I'm just not eating the food. But but I know what the feeling is like. But it would be a more a terrible feeling if I'm going to bed hungry because there's no food. Because at least for me, there's food. I don't eat the food per se. I just decide I'm gonna go to bed hungry because I don't want to stay up and try to have to digest that food. So I feel hunger pangs and pain, and I'm thinking, yeah, but I can go eat. But imagine if you're hungry and there's no food. And if you Google it, you see what I'm talking about. Just Google what Biden did to the Cubans. He made it worse. He basically, what I'm reading about and watching, he designated Cuba as a terrorist state. And then all the laws that would be applied to Al-Qaeda, as I call them, Al-Qaeda, but Al-Qaeda and stuff like that, he applied the laws to Cuba. So Cuba is a terrorist state. And now you're going to treat them like terrorists. And he's starving them. And you say, wow. And I'm supporting that. My tax dollars is going to that. I'm starving poor people. And who's starving poor people? The American public. And in their mind, that's my foreparents. I don't do those things. Oh, what are you talking about? That's the past. We don't do that. So Trump turned it up. So it don't matter if you get Democrats. I'm just talking about it. I'm just talking plain to you because I want to tell you, it doesn't matter who you get. The culture and the mindset is to starve people. So am I on the side of Jesus and the poor that are being starved? Because these people don't know. Think about it. Most people in those countries, they don't know not what's going on. All they know is that they're in a country and they're going to bed hungry. Hungry because they're terrorists and their state is a terrorist. They don't even know that probably. They just know they're going to bed hungry. Very painful. So if I feel pain for that, somebody say, are you wounded? I mean, like, yeah, when I go to bed hungry, I'm wounded. But I'm not wounded. I'm just talking about it. I'm just like, I feel the pain. See, I recognize with those people. Somebody say, but why don't you recognize with the oppressed? The oppressor. Because I'm one of the oppressed. What can I say? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You want me to recognize with those who are starving people? It's like, are you nuts? So notice here, I've been nuts. I'm not one of these, black people who like to do this and then talk bad about other people that are being oppressed. Listen, I recognize with the oppressed. I hope that doesn't offend you. It shouldn't, right? You don't have to accept it. And you don't have to do what I'm telling you, but I'm just saying that's what I do. Notice here, he was sick. He was imprisoned. Was he imprisoned falsely? I'm not talking about people in prison because they did crimes. I'm talking about people who are falsely imprisoned. People like, imagine somebody come to you and say, you raped my sister. And I'm like, who is your sister? And then they said, no, we go hang in there and get hanged. And then now, me watching that now, I saw something happen to somebody, me watching that, I'm saying, yeah, go hang him, he's terrible. And you're not thinking, bro, you're hanging innocent people, but that's the story of Jesus over and over again. False and imprisoned people. Notice there, and you came unto me. So we believe in this type of work. We believe that we help those who are less fortunate, even though we offend wicked people. And we speak out against evil and against the wicked people. That's our lot in life. And God is going to offend those who support evil. Notice there, then shall ye say unto them that on the left, depart from me. Oh no, so verse 40 says, and the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren, ye have done it unto me. So we do it to the least of these. we are in the side of the least of these. At least I have decided I'm asking you to join me and be on the side of the least of these. Support me, at least. Notice here, then shall he say also unto them that are on the left, depart from me, ye cursed, because they're cursed. Somebody say, Lord, no, they're blessed. No, you really? Look at all the suicides and all the cancers and stuff. Really, the people oppressing people, they're not getting their share of the oppression in this life, unless there's no God. You curse into everlasting fire, prepare for his devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and you didn't feed me. You gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer and saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hunger and a thirst and a stranger and naked and sick and in prison and did not minister to you? Then shall he answer and say, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. In other words, as Christian, we're supposed to be there for the people starving in Cuba. Somebody said, but my government is doing it. How can I help those that my government is trying to kill? Well, you have to answer that. I know what my decision is. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. If you serve Jesus, you're always on the side of those who are being falsely accused. You're always on the side of the innocent. You're always on the side of those that are, as I say, worthy poor that we need to help, and those that are seeking gainful employment. Because you know Plymouth Rock fell on them. You know that their country is being destabilized by the American government. You know that their dummy leaders are leading the country to destruction and causing them to suffer. I'm not there for supporting people who are suffering. Supporting people who are causing people to suffer. And I'm there just to help anybody. Somebody say, okay, but what if somebody was suffering here? It doesn't matter where they're suffering. As long as they're suffering, we're supposed to be there for them. We don't discriminate against anybody that's suffering. And that's what the help message taught me. That says, I'm afflicted and others are afflicted, and I need to help them like I'm helping myself. Notice here, Luke 6, verse 38. It says, give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, and shaken together, and running over, shall men give into your bosom. For with the same measure that you meet withal, it shall be measured to you again. So this is left or right, good or evil. In other words, I'm there trying to look out for people's health, and it helped me. I was saying to my wife recently, I say to you here, that I always have allergy problems and sinus problems. And at my age, I was once young, and now I'm old. And my sinus problem and allergy problem this year is being the best it's have been. Now, every year it's been getting better. And it seems strange to me, and hopefully it's not my famous last words before I die. No, it's my body is giving the last thrust before it pegs out. But this year has been the best I've felt, allergy-wise, and been in many years the best I've felt. So it's not by coincidence. In other words, it's not like a blip. Allergies. And so for me, that's remarkable, because it's like how I feel. There's some days I feel terrible. In other words, you have your days. But in a consistent run, I'm doing better, I would think, except one or two things, than when I was younger, which is fascinating. When I'm talking about teens, 20s, 30s, amazing. This is what they help me. You understand, like, if I'm talking to you something, it's hard for me to explain to you because it's in the degree. And if it is, so sometimes my words can't explain to you the degree of what I'm saying. So I'd say it to you that way so you understand. Empirically, that means if blood work, whatever. Just on that one matrix, allergies, I'm doing better than when I was in my teens, 20s, 30s. So for me, somebody say, okay, so what's the value of all the money, time, blow up big money in health and trying to help others, try to heal others? Me, I got more benefit out of it than anybody else, I think. Now, it could be, my wife could be saying, nah, I got more benefits. So good. But the value of it is amazing. Because for me to be at this age and to tell you that, for me, is crazy. Like I've been saying to my wife, man, this is crazy. Like I'm at this age and I feel better health-wise when it comes on to allergies, as an example. So just for clarity, I'm tell you the full story. I used to have allergies. I used to have asthma, all kinds of allergies, skin allergies, breathing allergies. And for me to not have allergy problem at this age is a testimony to the health message. In other words, I used to have a inhaler pump and all that gone. All of those things gone. Is powerful. So, but for me, who was I doing this for? In my mind, I was doing it, because I used to sell herbal remedies and stuff like that. And I realized all of that I was doing for myself. And I was the biggest recipient. So what am I saying here? When a person don't understand that when you look out for the least of these, you're on the height of this world. If you can succeed in this life and be blessed in this life while looking out for the least of these, you're doing better than anybody else. So in my mind, I thought I was trying to help people with health. But what I was doing, I was blessing myself immensely in ways that I couldn't imagine. If you told me this at 20, when I was 20 years old, that how many decades later you would have a better health outcome, I'll tell you, I've never heard that. What are you talking about? You get worse as you get older. And that's the fact. So somebody could listen to me and think, you want me to look out for those who are being abused and being oppressed and hungry and naked and being falsely accused? Yes. It will bless you immensely. You will ride on the high places of the earth. You'll do better. And that's what I've realized, that helping others was helping myself and was putting me in the best situation. Because remember, if you're helping others, you're in the best situation. You see? If you're helping others, somebody say, oh no, the oppressors are in the best situation. Sure, you can think that. Remember now, because what this text tells you, give and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down and shaken together. That's also for evil. You do evil, just think about it. Who are some of the most depressed people on the planet? The planet are people who like to oppress others. But somebody said, Lord, that don't work because they're supposed to be happy. You can't be hating all day long. Hate. And you're happy? Don't work like that. Running over shall man give into your bosom. So you give coal into somebody, it'll come back to you. And when it come back to you, you will see. For the same measure that you meet withal, it shall be measured to you again. This is both positive or negative, depends on how you take it. If you give to people evil, it will come back to you. If you say to people, oh, the Mexicans are rapists, you'll be accused of rape and you'll be taken to court and tried for rape. You didn't get that one, right? Oh, everybody's a rapist. Oh, okay. So who been going to court and fighting off cases for rape? The person that accused the Central Park joggers of raping white women. You see, but that's how life works. But if you don't study the Bible, you don't believe there's a God, you're not going to see that coming. But by God's grace, I believe in God, and I saw it coming. I say, oh yeah, the Mexicans are rapists? Or who is eating dogs and cats? I've heard that there's poor people in America who are eating dog food and cat food. You didn't hear that one. Look it up. But they're going to tell me that they're eating the dogs and cats. Because what's dog food and cat food? Is worse than eating a dog or cat, in my mind. Notice here, Matthew chapter 19, verse 30. Matthew chapter 19, verse 30 says, but many that are first shall be last, and that the last shall be first. See, don't think that whatever goes around can come around. Whatever goes around shall come around. But when people are running high and they're cocky and they're pride, because remember, God hate the prideful and work to destroy them. They don't see that there's a power that they're not seeing working. Notice the most paranoid people and the people that think somebody's trying to replace them or whatever are people that are always working against others. And then they think that there's some conspiracy against them because they don't understand. No, the conspiracy is God is working against them because God don't like the evil and God don't like the oppressors, and God is working to overthrow them. Galatians chapter 6, verse 10. Notice it says here, Galatians 6, verse 10. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good to all men. It don't matter who they are. I'm blessing. Listen, what I'm saying here, I hope somebody get free. I'm telling you, Don't join with your brethren to oppress people and to mock people. You never mock the disabled. There's theologians, double PhD, that can teach what I just taught you there. I'm going to tell you again. It's a rule that you must follow. I was taught this as a child. Never mock a disabled person. And I realize there's people who are the most famous preachers in the planet. And they don't even understand that teaching. And they never told their people, you never mock a disabled. Because there's a God. You never show off on a disabled. Because there's a God, but these people don't know that there's a God, and they think God is just love, 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 or whatever. God will punish you for that type of stuff and will punish you for doing that type of stuff. You always look out for those who are less fortunate. And I was taught this, and I realized all these years, they weren't taught this. There's a whole Western Christianity that never taught their members. You never, listen, if you're in an audience and somebody start talking, mocking the disabled, just leave. Those people are cursed. I don't care who they are. I don't care how powerful they are, how much money they are. They're demons. You just leave. That's terrible. That's a terrible thing to do. I don't care. That to me is that's abominable. That's worse than homosexuality and all that type of stuff. That's just disgusting. You never mock a disabled person. If you don't know no theology, you don't need to know no theology. All of them need to shut down these theological seminaries. Okay, you go to theology. The first thing you should do, go in the class, you go to the Bible and say, never mock a disabled person. Because God is not mocked. But we're so powerful. Yeah, you're stupid. Never do that. There's a God, but again, if you start out with the point that there's no God, you can mock them all day long. I'm not doing it. We look out for those who are worthy poor. The disabled are worthy poor. God always looked out. Jesus came and he was killed by the Pharisees and the current Jews over there in Israel because they hate the poor and they hate those who are disabled. We look out for them. Now, notice again, they've been talking about the high rates of disability. And you say, ain't that a shame? A lot of the people are mocking the disabled. They have disabled kids. It has to be so terrible. And supporting a person who support the mock disabled people. This is one of the most disturbing things to me. You're that demoralizing your mind and sick in your head that you would support somebody mocking disabled and you have disabled kids. Who has the highest rates of disabled kids in the country? But they'll say, oh no, we're never going to be oppressed. Really? So who's going to take care of your kids? You create an environment of hate and superiority. What happens when you have disabled kids? It's coming. Because you're not going to live forever. Who's going to take care of those kids? Because the environment is a hateful environment, an environment that is you don't look out for those who are less fortunate. Who's going to take care of them? And the people doing this, they're people heading to nursing home. Come on now. Come on now. The people who are doing all this evil, they're heading to nursing home. These are people in their 70s and stuff like that. They're so sick. These baby boomers, and who's going to take care of them? Nursing homes are being closed all across the Midwest because they can't have workers. But they say the people coming into work, these nursing homes, to clean their parents and them soon, buttocks, are stealing their jobs. And yet they're closing the nursing home. Look it up and you'll see nursing homes being closed. But they mock. And we join them? No, we support those who will work in nursing homes because I worked in nursing home before. So I know what I'm talking about. I support those women and men that do that job. It's a tough job to do. But they mock. We don't join evildoers. Even if they have the power and all the money and they're billionaires and they're from India and South Africa, we don't join them. Someone say, oh no, we have to because they're billionaires, really. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith, because we know soon they're going to treat us like they treat Jesus. So we're on the side of Jesus. So I'm going to read to you this poem that I read yesterday. I'm going to read this poem through the week. Notice here, this is called First They Came, the poem by German Lutheran pastor Martin Niemöller. And he says, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. I'm not disabled. I don't eat cats. I don't eat dogs. I'm not a rapist, so they're talking about me. I'm not Haitian. I'm not Mexican, so I keep quiet. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist, he says here. But then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I'm not a Jew. I'm not Palestinian. I'm not Ukrainian. I'm not whatever. So I'm a quiet. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Now, obviously, live until 1980 something, so they didn't come for. Probably they came from, I don't know. So there was nobody left to speak out. What happened? They say, well, how would you say? You could say it this way. You could say, they came for Bill Cosby, and I didn't speak out. They came for the Central Park Speaker 5, and I did speak out and said they need to go to prison. Then they came for Puff Daddy, and I didn't speak out. Then they came for Matt Gates, and I didn't speak out. Then they came for me and tried me for raping women, I think in Macy's, and I didn't speak out because now there was nobody to speak. It's easy for anybody to say, oh no, I'm not going to speak out against people being accused or falsely accused. Yeah, but what happens when it's your time? The environment is set that nobody speaks out. And people will be cheering on. And you see the people for who they are. And they'll say, oh no, that's in the past. We wouldn't do that again. Yeah, you would. You're doing it right now. And that tells you who they are. Remember, this is important. This is so important because somebody said, Lloyd, but all this in the past, give me a break. It's been 160 years since the abolition of slavery. The sentiment is still the same down south. They're still in that mindset. You got to speak out because they're coming for you and I next. This is not scaremongering. This is reality. They have not changed. They're sundown states still. Sun, S-U-N, down states. They ain't changed. Look at it. And you will see. Who's not speaking out? But those same people think they can't be oppressed. There's no God. There's no swirly. There's nothing coming for them because you can't protect yourself against God. And, they're supposed to believe in God at least. You can't protect yourself. When God come in to take people away, he take people away. And who's going to speak for you when you create an environment that who's going to speak for you when you go into nursing homes? And when your kids have to suffer bullying and stuff like that, who's going to speak for you when your kids transition? Who's going to speak out? So we speak out for those who are oppressed. In Isaiah chapter 40, verse 1 onward, it says, comfort ye, my people. Say, your God, speak ye comfortable to Jerusalem, and cry unto her, that her warfare is accomplished, and that her iniquity is pardoned. For she's at receive of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. The voice of him that cried in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low. The crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. The glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. For the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. The voice said, cry. And he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, he said we should cry. And all of the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord hath blown upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. We stand on the word of God. It's not only sacred history, it teaches us principles that we know, and some of these principles are what we enumerate here. I enumerate. Whatever goes around, comes around. You reap what you sow. But when people are proud, and they can't listen to nobody, and they're heartless, they say, oh no, that will never be me. I'll never be oppressed. I'll never be the one that's being falsely accused. I'll never be hanged on a tree. But remember, there is a God, and what goes around comes around. And so we know that it don't work like that. So we straighten up our fallen ground. We straighten up ourselves. We do what is supposed to be right. But for me and my house, we are the oppressed. We recognize with the oppressed, and we support the oppressed. As I say, we'll make wicked people happy and those who support oppressors. But that's what we do because we are oppressed. Let me pray here. Oh, Father, who art in heaven, I thank you for your word in this day. I pray, dear Lord, that you may bless us, that we might stay faithful to your Son and truly support those who are needy and those who are brokenhearted and those who are downtrodden. May you bless us towards this end. We pray for Christ's sake. Amen. Well, thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live tomorrow. We should talk about natural health. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.